All right. Well, Toni, thank you so much for being a guest on the Multiply Your Success podcast. And just by way of introduction and getting things started, if you'll please give us your name, your company, and your title.
Awesome. Toni Harris Taylor. I am the CEO and founder of Drastic Results Marketing and Sales Coaching. And then I'm also a franchise owner and community builder with Network in Action.
Phenomenal. Well, part of the reason we had met here recently, and what I was so excited to be talking about with you are a couple of things. One, your journey to get to franchising, I thought was just it truly embodies everything of why franchising exists. And
Yes.
so I would just love, just by way of introduction, for you just to share your journey and coming to franchising and going that direction.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story. It truly was a godsend. In 2019, I was so close to closing my business and getting a job. Why? Because I couldn't see my end game for retiring from Drastic Results. And so I was interviewing for jobs, full well didn't want a job. And I was just at that crossroads. So I'm talking to a friend of mine, Tom, who's a money mindset coach. And she asked me a very poignant question. She said, "What is your why?" And I told her what I thought my why was. And she says, "Toni, you've already accomplished that. Perhaps you need a new why, one that will excite you about your business again. I want you to go create a new why and come back and tell me what it is." So I did the work. And I came back to her a couple weeks later. I said, "My why is to touch, move, and inspire my clients to take drastic steps to be better than they were before they met me. I'm a resource, I'm a connector. I want to help people build deeper relationships that are beneficial to their life and business." She said, "That's perfect for you. Are you doing that?" "Yes." "Are you getting paid to do that?" "Well," I said, "when I coach, when I speak, yes, I get paid. I'm an international speaker as well." She said, "What about connecting people? What would you need to do to get paid to connect people?" I said, "I need to start my own networking group." She said, "Why don't you?" "Oh, no," I told her, "absolutely not." I said, "I've seen too many people run networking groups not make any money. I don't know what to charge. I don't have technology. I don't know how to run a meeting. No, thank you, lady." He said, "Toni, if you truly want to get paid to connect people, don't worry about the how. It will show up." I said, click. I am not starting a networking group. 3 months earlier, I had attended a women's retreat. I showed up in the midst of trying to figure out if I was going to get a job or not. And I met a lady there from Network in Action. And she said, "Oh my gosh, you should be a franchise owner with Network in Action." "Franchise, lady, that sounds like a lot of money and I'm looking for a job." She said, "Don't worry about it. I'm going to introduce you to the franchisor." Okay, well, Tom, I teach networking. I teach that when you meet somebody interesting, you book an appointment with them on the spot. And I did not book an appointment with this lady. I think the word franchise and the price tag for it scared me. She did not follow up with me as she promised until 1 week after the conversation with the coach. 3 months later. Don't worry about the how, it will show up. "Toni, I haven't forgot about you. I still think you'll be a great network and action franchise owner." "Franchise, I just said a week ago to my coach, I can't start a networking group. And the franchise, how much is that again?" I said, "I don't have that kind of money." He said, "Just meet him. And the rest, as they say, is history." He introduced me to the franchisor, brother from another mother, instant connection. He made the financials work, and I'm now his rookie of the year. brand ambassador, fastest launching franchise owner, first to launch a virtual uh, networking franchise, and I get to live my purpose and my why every day.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And as we talked, if I remember correctly, now multi-unit operator for your franchise system.
Absolutely. So the beginning of this year, I still didn't have what I thought was a sellable business. And the other thing I wanted so badly, Tom, and I know your listeners do too, a business that can run without me. So at the beginning of this year, I started searching for leaders, people who would want, they would otherwise be the president of somebody else's group, right? But I'm looking for leaders who want to earn money and be that center of influence. And so now I have 6 leaders around the country. And that's the other thing, other accomplishment. I'm the first one to take us into Canada. So we are now in Canada as well, building groups all over the country.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Well, talk about, because you had mentioned early in your story how your consulting company, Drastic Results, was on the verge of going out of business. You were basically throwing the towel in, going back to work. Then you connect with Network in Action, and new life gets breathed into you, and you start this up. Well, how has networking helped you with Drastic Results in your consulting and coaching business?
Well, thank you for asking because Drastic Results is where I teach entrepreneurs how to get known, get connected, and get paid. So, in other words, I was teaching networking already. Network in Action now gives me a place to have them network. And people that join Network in Action often need business coaching. And so I tell people all the time, they go together like a skirt and a blouse. So yeah, it is. And I have tripled my income because I found number one, the thing that supported my why. And it's a gift. I know a lot of entrepreneurs that flounder trying to figure out how to make money doing what they truly love. And when I tell you this was truly a godsend and now both businesses gel together, it's perfect.
Phenomenal. Well, while we're talking about networking, I would love for you to share some networking, maybe do's and don'ts. What are some maybe common missteps you see in networking, or some suggestions you think are great ideas or great things for people to be doing?
All right. So my saying is show up, be up, follow up to blow up. And so the do's are all of those things you need to show up. But not just show up. You need to show up where your target market is. And many people hate networking because they feel like it's a waste of time because they're going to the wrong places, which is the mistake that they make. So you have to show up where the people are that can support you and potential clients are. So show up in the right place, stop networking in the wrong places because it leads to frustration and a waste of time and money. The second thing is you got to be up. So the advice is when you show up, have some energy. And I'm especially talking to my introvert friends who have to get drastic to show up and then drastic to flip on their energy. But people are attracted to big smiles, energy, style. So part of being up is to be dressed and be look a certain way. So many people are so casual today. They just blend in with the crowd, right? One of the things that make me stand out are my glasses. Yesterday, I had on different glasses when I met you than I do today. In fact, I have 11 pair of glasses. They are part of my brand. You know, so fashion is a way to be up and stand out. When you are attractive to people, people want a little bit of what you have. And so the tip is to have good energy and look the part. The third thing and the most important thing is to follow up. If you don't have a plan for follow up, then you might as well not show up. So following up is the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs, the lack of follow up is the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make. There's a saying that the fortune is in the follow up. I say the fortune is won and lost in the lack of follow up. So if you're not going to follow up, you might as well not show up. So having a follow up strategy is the tip. And even if, remember in my story, it took Helen 3 months and a week to follow up with me, there's never too late to follow up. So get the courage, get drastic, call the people, the business cards that are on your desk. You met those people somewhere. Call them, and then you will blow up for sure.
Brilliant advice. And it's so true. And I've seen this. I've certainly been to networking groups and have failed at what you've just described. But where I've spent probably most of my time, I guess this could be considered a form of networking, has been at trade shows. I've literally participated, exhibited at hundreds, 400, 500, 600 or more trade shows that I've exhibited at over the years. And consistently, what I found is exactly what you described. That follow-up is where it's all at. You show up, you get the leads, you do all the right things. And then do you actually call, email, text message, whatever it might be, to book an appointment, to continue a conversation and make it? Because that's the hard work. That's where you really got to, put some
All right.
elbow grease in. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you my golden rule.
Okay.
And I said it in my story. Book the appointment on the spot. When you meet a person that is interesting, even if you're at a trade show, pull out your phone, get them on your calendar right then and there. You can always move the appointment, but it's so much more difficult to try to get them on the phone, emails get lost. It just is a mess trying to follow up. So don't follow up. Get them on your appointment on the spot, and then there is no follow up necessary.
Great. I love it. That's great advice. And let's talk about one of the things, a comment you made to me that I really was curious to learn, have you share with the folks that'll listen into this, is how a franchisor can use networking to sell more franchises or grow their franchise network. That intrigued me. So I'd love to talk about that.
Absolutely. Selling a franchise is based on relationships. So even in my story, if that franchisor, we happen to be in the same city, had not taken the time to come over to my office and spend time with me, I may not be a franchisee today. He took time to get to know me, my goals, my future. What is it I wanted? And I told him the same struggles that I was having. And I'm going to be frank with you. The franchisor financed me. I didn't have the money. He gave me a handshake note based on a connection. The more connections franchisors can learn to make with people, the more franchises they will sell. And here's another thing. Because he cared enough for me, I asked him, how can I help you? He said, we're looking to grow around the country. I have referred 8 new franchisees to him. So once your franchisor takes that extra bit of time to really connect with the person who they're doing their presentation with, that person, you don't ever know. They can open a ton of doors for you. But if you're just about your presentation and trying to sell another franchise, it doesn't work. But franchising also, or franchisors also need to use networking to prospect. Again, going where the target audience is. If you have an accounting franchise and you know that people who are running solopreneur accounting firms might be a good fit to slide into your model, why aren't you networking at the associations where all these independent accountants are? Then build a real connection with them, and you will see your doors will fling open. So being very strategic is key. And here's another thing, Tom. I get real passionate about this. But so many franchisors say they want to get more women and they want to get more minorities. But are they networking where the minorities are? Are they going to the Black MBA Association? Are they going to the HBCUs, Historically Black College and University Alumni Associations? Are they connecting with the Divine Nine, as we call it, the Greek associations? They have huge conferences every year. They would love for you to sponsor a booth at their conference. That's where you're going to find your upward mobile Black professionals who might be good franchise. But what do you say? It's out of your comfort zone. It's drastic. And that's when you hire me to come in and teach you how to do it.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, I hope for all of the franchisors that are tuning in or will tune in or prospective franchisors are going to listen to this, you literally just gave in the last 4 or 5 minutes, just golden nuggets of real information on how to actually add more franchisees, increase your diversity. I mean, these are real solutions to practical that aren't that complicated. I mean, we're not talking about a complicated thing to do here. It just takes, like you said, getting out of your comfort zone, shaking hands, saying hello to a few folks, and booking a meeting on the spot, right?
Well, that's the right there. That's the one that has transformed so many of my clients' lives and businesses, because when they do that, it takes all the sting out of trying to follow up, and business happens.
Well, case in point, when we met, we had an intro call, and before we got off the call, we booked an interview on the podcast here, and boom, here we are. So, well, Toni, this is a great time for us to talk a little bit further, and we kind of make a transition here to ask the same questions that we ask every guest before they go. So I'd love for you to share maybe a miss or two that's occurred as you've grown through your career and something you learned from it.
Yeah. So one of the biggest misses that I had, and how my whole passion for finding a business that could run without me, is in 2015, I spent 10 days in a coma and was out of work for 5 months. And I was fortunate that I had a residual income coming in, but my business kind of came to a halt because life happened. And I didn't have that, I didn't have that backup plan. So it's important to build some sort of residual income in your business that can run, that can keep coming, even when you cannot work, because life happens to all of us.
Yeah. Wow. What a tragic event to occur and to learn a very difficult lesson. Wow. Well, let's talk about on the other side. You've shared several makes along the way. Are there others you'd like to share, or just another you'd like to reiterate here?
Yes. The biggest make in my life was when back in 2003, when I actually spent some time in financial services, and my bosses at the time said, "You need a coach." I was like, "I'm on commission. I don't know where my next dollar's coming from." And they said, "Trust me, you need a coach." The biggest make is to hire a coach, because you cannot see, because you're in the picture, you cannot see the frame. And every great athlete has coaches. The make And so ever since 2003, I almost have always had some sort of coach, some sort of guide. And it's important that you invest in a coach, not a mentor who's free. That's different. When you take hard earned money or you put it on a credit card, that bill is coming every month. It is your motivator to go do the work. So my make is I always hire a coach, and it's a stretch goal for me as well. So I encourage the audience, find the people who know a little bit more than you do, have been through the journey that you're trying to go through, pay them, hire a coach.
Great. Well, let's talk about a multiplier. And would you mind sharing or talking about one or two here?
When you say, can you clarify multiplier for me?
Yeah. So sometimes people think of this, sometimes they think of it like a force multiplier, or we'll talk about anything that's helped you accelerate your growth, whether that's professionally, maybe personal growth and personal development. It can, this is a very broad, we get a really broad cross section of responses
Okay,
here.
okay. So my multiplier is networking. Surprise, surprise. Because when I network, I get to tell people who I am, what I do, and then they refer me. When you learn how to network the right way and you become a giver first, I think the real multiplier is that I give before I receive, and then that multiplies and accelerates my success because people feel obligated to give to me.
Yeah. And well, that's I love that. And I'm not surprised with your response. I thought you might go there. I was hoping you would, given your background and the success you've had with networking. And the final question that we like to ask every guest is, what does success mean to you?
So, as my why stated, I want to leave a planet of drastic steppers. I want everybody who crossed my path to learn to be drastic and teach their children to be drastic. I'm the only one using the word drastic in that way. What that means is that my success is going to be when I'm done, people saying I got drastic because I met her. And right now, I measure my success by the number of people, number of entrepreneurs that are across my path, and they're connected, they're networking together, they're playing together, they're doing events together, all because I encourage them to connect and get drafted. So that's my measure of success. The number of people I leave on this planet who says, I'm a drastic stepper because I heard Tony's voice.
Mm, that's beautiful. I really, really like that. And well, Toni, as we bring this to a close here, is there anything you were maybe hoping to share or get across that you haven't had a chance to say yet?
I appreciate the opportunity to share my story, share my background, and I want to encourage all the franchise owners out there that are listening to keep being drastic. Show up, be up, follow up to blow up. And the time to show up is when it's the hardest, when you don't feel like it, when life is hard, business is failing. Show up anyway. So it takes one person to change the trajectory of your life and business. And that one person is at that next event that you show up to when you didn't feel like it.
Wonderful. What a great way to close. Toni, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you for having me on the show.